and it is Dr. Jimmy O'Keefe. Here we are here. I'm going to promote Jimmy to be a panelist and introduce him. So Dr. Jimmy O'Keefe is from the School of History and Geography and is going to talk about our next new degree that has started this year and have students on it. It is the BA in Climate and Environmental Sustainability. So this is a great course if you do have a passion about the environment and you're interested in climate change. And, you know, I think it's of particular interest to those of you who are interested in a more humanities focus rather than a science or technology focus. But I could be totally wrong, and you'll tell me if I am wrong, Jimmy. But you're very welcome here today, and I'm going to let you get on with it.
Lovely. Thank you very much. I'm hoping you can all hear me all right.
I can hear you.
And see me okay. I must warn you, it's quite windy here today, and it seems to be blowing away my internet connection. So I may switch off my camera in a few minutes if it looks like it's getting a bit shaky. But it's lovely. Yeah, let me share my screen.
Okay, yeah, I'll let you leave it to it, and we'll see how you get on anyway. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Colette. Right. Right. So hopefully you can all see that. Let me just go back to the start.
Yeah, I can see that fine.
Brilliant. Thanks a million. Good stuff. Well, you're all very welcome, and delighted to introduce you to our new course. It's the BA in Climate and Environmental Sustainability. So this is a brand new course. It started just last year. It's part of the DCU Futures Initiative. So I'm going to give you a very brief overview of the course itself. We'll talk a little bit about what life is like on the course for the students that are here. We'll talk a little bit about the potential careers that you might get at the end of this. And this is a course which really lends itself to lots of different very interesting, very useful careers, very satisfying careers. And then there'll be plenty of time for questions afterwards if you have any. But first of all, we'll start with the problem, I guess. What's the issue with the environment, and whether or not we can actually fix it? And really, that's what this whole module is about. So I probably don't need to tell anybody on this call that climate change is a major problem. And we also know that humans are the main reason that climate is changing so much and changing so quickly. We've all seen this ourselves. We've seen this in Ireland. We've seen that the frequency of extreme weather events has increased dramatically over the last few years. At the moment, it seems like we're just jumping from one storm to another. And this is something which is affecting us all. But actually, in Ireland, we're quite well buffered from the impacts of climate change. And most people in the developed world are like that. It's much more of an issue if you live in developing regions of the world, so places like sub-Saharan Africa or South Asia. So they really face the brunt of extreme climate events. So that could be in the form of drought, or it could be in the form of floods. And these are events which may take away food and food security. It may take away their livelihoods, and in many cases, it will also take away lives. So it's quite a dramatic subject to study in any form. Something else we study quite a lot, and this is something which is very much linked to climate change, is biodiversity. So our impacts are not just climate related. We've also seen a huge reduction in biodiversity over the last 50 years. Certainly climate change plays a role in all of this, but as do things like pollution, overfishing or over extraction of resources, and a reduction in the planet's natural areas. So back in 1960, about 60% of the planet was covered in natural space. So if you think about that, 60% of the planet was basically untouched by humans. Now in 2020, that figure has reduced to 35%. And that's all down to us increasing in our population and our desire for more resources, more space for living in, more food production, our growing urban areas which are encroaching on natural space, and very much also our need for natural resources. So this includes things like water. It includes things like food, areas to grow food. Another area which we're seeing a huge amount of change is in urban areas. So at the moment, about 55% of the global population live in cities, and that's expected to rise. So by 2050, about 70%. So 7 in 10 people will live in urban areas, and this places a huge strain on the environment. But actually, it also presents lots of really useful opportunities. So when you have this big concentration of people in a particular place, it means that you can potentially manage your resources much more efficiently, much more responsibly. It means that yes, you have a higher density of urban living, but this allows you to streamline things like water management, energy management, um, transport, waste management, and so on. So even though urban areas are increasing dramatically, this is potentially also something which provides a solution to some of the big challenges that we're facing. Water resources are also another big topic which we talk about a lot on the course, and my own background is water resources basically. So I've spent a lot of time in developing regions where learning how they use water, and what happens if something changes. So for example, I've spent a lot of time in India learning what happens when the monsoon doesn't come on time. How do farmers cope? How do they still manage to put food on the table? And I guess this is really one of the key parts of a course like this. So it's not just about learning the physical science. And Colette mentioned that this is largely about the humanities, and there is a very strong humanity and social science element to this course, but you'll also learn the technical side of climate change, the technical side of food production. But a key part of change is about understanding humans and why humans make the decisions that they do. So addressing these big issues requires an understanding of not just the physical processes that cause these changes, but it's also about learning about the social side, economics, politics, cultural processes and practices, and how all of these processes have developed together to cause environmental issues. And it's really only by doing this that we can then identify and come up with appropriate solutions to manage and address these big environmental challenges that we face. Another big challenge that we've faced over the last few years is, of course, COVID-19. Now, one of the big reasons on why we arrived with this big pandemic is this encroachment on natural spaces. So about 60% of emerging infectious diseases are zoonotic. So this means they're basically coming from nature and our interaction with nature. And this is something which, as we increase as a population, as we start to reduce our natural space, these types of infections are going to become a bit more prevalent. But this also presents some, when this happened, it presented some interesting data and some interesting opportunities as well, or highlighted some interesting opportunities. So this is a plot showing showing change in global daily fossil CO2 emissions. So this is basically the amount of CO2 which we were emitting into the atmosphere during 2020, during a particular time in 2020. So back around March, the end of March, start of April is when really the whole world went into lockdown. And you can see there's this really big reduction in CO2 emissions, particularly around surface transport. So this is cars. And at this point, everybody was staying at home, so very few people were actually driving. Industry was starting to shut down, so you can see that big reduction there as well. Power, aviation, public, they all saw some reduction. Actually, the residential saw a very slight increase during that same period because we were all at home. But you can see that there was a very, very big reduction in a very short space of time. So, in the midst of this horrible pandemic that was going on, there were some, I guess, bright spots which highlighted that, yeah, okay, with some changes, we could actually make a really big difference. So it helped highlight some potential solutions to some of the big problems that we're facing as well. This picture is, I think that really highlights that as well. So this is taken from Northwest India in Punjab. And in the background, you might just be able to make out some mountains. So those are the Himalayas. You can just about see the snow. Those mountains are about 200 kilometers away. And this was the first time in about 30 years that they were able to see those mountains. And this was because air pollution reduced during the pandemic, smog reduced during the pandemic, and suddenly they were able to see further than they had in probably a generation. Obviously, when things went back to normal, so did the air pollution levels. So that wasn't great. But again, it highlights that there are solutions to some of these big problems that we're facing. So nature and society are very much interlinked, and climate change, biodiversity, land use change, agriculture, human health, all of these things influence and are influenced by nature. So reducing our land use change, our deforestation, this all creates a buffer zone between humans and nature. And this is something which is very important. So global environmental issues such as climate change, biodiversity loss, urbanization, deforestation, food security, these are some of the defining challenges that we face. And addressing these requires an understanding of not just, as I said, the physical processes that cause these, but also the social and economic and political processes and practices. And it's really key to understand all of these in order to identify realistic and sustainable solutions to all of these challenges. So can we fix all of these challenges? Well, yes, we can. And that's where this course comes in. So this is a unique course. It's the first one of its type to be. It's the only one of its type in the country. And I'll just show you a very quick video, which I think gives a really nice overview of the course itself. And hopefully you'll hear this. Can you hear that?
No, I think I need to
Oh, sorry. Will I go back
share
to
sound?
Right. Let me know.
It's live on YouTube, so it's the option for me to share sound is not coming up for some reason.
Okay. Well, I can, if you like, I can put the link up, or we can perhaps share the link around.
If you share the link, I might be able to open it then and be able to do it. Let's see if you can do that way. Live on YouTube. Let me see if I click into live on YouTube. What's going to happen? No, it's going to go.
I don't think I actually have a link to send to you. I think this is embedded into the slide. But perhaps we can just share the link afterwards if you like.
Yeah,
that's easier. Sorry about that. It's a really nice video. But it's again, this is something which is available on our website. Is
it our video? Is it our one that we've done?
I think it is, yeah.
I might be able to.
Oh, good stuff.
Let's see if I have to stop sharing your screen. Is it the one that is it the short video on
yeah, it's
on the
about
course?
a minute or two long with
on the course, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you stop sharing there for a second.
Okay.
And let me share. Where are they going now? Okay, just let me see now. Is it the BA, this one here now, is it?
I think we should explore a few solutions.
Grammarly's suggestions catch when your tone might
Yeah, that's it.
Climate change is not only the defining issue of our generation, but also of the next generation. Humanity must act, and the world needs trained experts who can help. If you are deeply concerned about climate change in our environment and fascinated by our relationship with the landscape, DCU's new BA in Climate and Environmental Sustainability is perfect for you. On this applied geography course, you'll gain a deeper understanding of climate change and its consequences, while also learning how the environment itself offers solutions. You discover how to prioritise and implement nature-based solutions, such as supporting biodiversity or retaining floodplains. To ensure you're ready for the world of work, you'll learn through immersive exercises such as hackathons, gamification, and challenge-based team learning. And as one of only 20 students on the course, you'll be part of a tight-knit learning community. You'll often work in teams to tackle challenges based on real data and issues faced by industry, the public sector, and NGOs. And you'll frequently meet and hear from our industry partners. We also offer you the opportunity to complete an optional year-long work placement or a year abroad. On this course, you'll study physical geography, climate science, and biogeography, while also focusing on the social aspects of climate change and becoming skilled in data analysis. In the real world, working geographers must be data literate, as they use spatial analysis and mapping technologies, so you'll be well prepared. Graduates will be sought by organisations focused on climate change and the environment. Or you could work as a climate scientist, sustainability manager, environmental consultant, or similar in the public or private sector. Wherever your career takes you, you'll be able to use your geography and social science skills to have a real impact in tackling climate and environmental challenges. We welcome your application and look forward to seeing you in DCU.
Now.
Lovely, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Colette. So I think that gives you a pretty good overview of the course itself. And every student who comes in will learn, so these are the 4 pillars which we ensure every student learns each year. So these form a core part of our curriculum and of our course. So environmental science, sustainability, spatial data management and visualization, and society environment interface. So you will, as you go through the course, these are skills which you'll build on over time. And as you've seen in the video, these are skills which are really sought after by industry, by academia, by policymakers. And so these give you a really strong foundation for the working world. And we do that in many different ways. So a lot of our work a lot of our teaching is, so we use online platforms. For example, we use Labster, which is a new virtual reality platform. We're actually rolling out that this week. And this allows students, particularly on the ecology and biogeography courses, to try out different methods of data collection, of data analysis, and do this in a virtual lab. So when they actually go out into the real world, or in a few weeks when we actually take them out to do some field trips, they'll already have a head start and they'll already have a really good knowledge on how to actually do all of these things. We take part in hackathons. So at the moment, there is an ongoing hackathon with the business school where they'll work with economics students to well, first of all, identify what the main challenges are and then come up with solutions. So you get to work with people from different disciplines. And this is a really important skill to actually have. And of course, as you'd expect with a geography module or a geography course, there's lots of field trips. So we do actually spend a lot of time in the field, getting your hands dirty. Next year, there's a residential field trip. So in second year, there's a residential field trip where you get to spend a week either in Ireland or abroad, looking at different parts of the overall course. You'll also get to work with industry partners, and a key part of our course is actually getting industry partners on board. So often they're from consultancies, but also they're just, they're stakeholders with a particular interest in the environment. So for example, we're taking students to a rewilding project in County Meath in a few weeks' time, where students will get to spend time with the person who owns the land, find out why they ended up doing some rewilding on this particular site, what the challenges were, and there were many, many challenges. And these are all part of that overall skill set which students will learn. Another really interesting module which students did this year was around challenge-based learning. So again, here students were actually able to identify a particular problem and then come up with a solution themselves. So for some students, this meant looking at the amount of CO2 emissions that were emitted during their journey to college, for example, and then they swapped that for cycling when they could. Other students changed their diet, so they went from being meat-eating non-vegetarians to vegan for a couple of months, and one of them actually even swapped out meat for insects. So they were able to they used crickets for instead of meat in all of their meals for a month. So we generated a lot of interest with that. There was actually a lot of outside interest in that from the media. We had a few different newspaper articles and a few different interviews with the students and with some of the people running the course. But really, this was all about working on real-world environmental sustainability and environment and real-world challenges. So it's about generating that skill set for students themselves. And certainly, there are really great opportunities afterwards. There's a huge amount of money being put into this environmental sector from the EU and from private individuals. So there's 750 billion being released by the EU at the moment, just around the green recovery, and this is only part of that potential area which you could get into. Future potential careers include climate scientists, sustainability managers, environmental consultants, and I think most of the people who are lecturing on this course have some sort of consultancy background as well. Data analysis, environmental resource manager, conservation manager. You could go into academia, you can go into policy. There's many different opportunities for the type of diverse skill set which you'll get on a course like this. I probably don't need to talk too much about the university itself, except to say that it's a fantastic university to go to. It's one of the top. It is the top university in Ireland as of last year, and in the top 250 universities in the world for social science. It's a great place in terms of getting jobs. Employability is very high in DCU, or for graduates of DCU, and I'd be very happy to answer any questions now, but mostly I'd be really happy to see you next September here in DCU. So any questions, very happy to answer those now. Or you can email us in the department. So it's historyandgeography@dcu.ie. The course chair is Dr. Darren Clark, but of course I'd be very happy to take any questions via email as well. So thank you very much. I'll stop sharing and...
Brilliant. Thanks so much. And we will have a student from the course on the panel discussion at around 5:30 this evening. And she'll be talking about her experiences of the course as well in her first year. She actually told me about the guy with the tacos, the cricket tacos. I mean, God almighty. I wouldn't be into it myself now, but she mentioned herself that she went off meat and she's been off it since. So there you go, but there's so much there, much more than that as well in the whole course. It's very interesting. Is there any crossover with the global challenges? Because what we were saying reminds you, I know you said climate science, but we were talking about citizen science and this morning, and the UN Sustainable Development Goals and things like that. So is it probably an area that students can get into in that sense also? Would it be?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Sustainable Development Goals and citizen science also form a core part of what we do. And these are all kind of some of the building blocks that you learn, which are very common across many different courses, because really we're all looking at the same problem, sometimes from slightly different angles, but that's really what you need if you want to come up with these realistic solutions to some of these problems. Citizen science is something we're very much into. So again, my own background is water and water resources. And citizen science is a really big part of that. So actually getting members of the public to go out and collect data, and really they're the experts in their own particular area, so they're the best people to collect that information. So yeah, absolutely. There's a huge amount of crossover between all of the different modules, and that's something again which we're encouraging, because as I mentioned, the hackathons which we're running, so we're doing that in conjunction with the business school. So that gives students a whole other kind of angle on, it's not just about, learning about the climate cycle or the carbon cycle. It's also learning about economics and how can that help address some of the problems.
Very good. Absolutely excellent talk today, Jimmy. So thank you so much for that. And I can let you go now because we don't have any questions. You said everything you need to in a very clear way. So thank you so much for that.